I began writing this script yesterday, and it got quite emotional. It was just after New Year's going into 2020. I'd had a tough 2019 with health, to the point where I was lying on the bed downstairs listening to my kids upstairs, whilst I was struggling to breathe. My wife told me later that she thought I might die. I had similar dark thoughts. The doctors didn't know what was wrong with me, and I was asked to isolate, and they called me daily to see how I was. It took me months to recover. Who knows what it was, but I have my suspicions. And when I finally did in late 2019, early 2020, well, we know what happened then. Today, almost 5 years later after I first started, I want to share my journey of reviving a dead YouTube channel. My YouTube channel. You see, the thing was that right up until then, my YouTube channel was growing. At my peak, I was getting over 6,000 views per day. Then suddenly, I struggled to get 200, maybe 300 daily views for months at a time. In early 2020, that was when I hit my peak. Consistency was key, as the only thing that matters is how often you publish a video that connects with your audience and drives views. And my audience loved my content with cameras, comparison content, travel vlogs, and going deep on the Insta360 series of cameras. And not only did I drive views, but I also made some smart decisions to achieve those numbers. For example, I made a video collaborating with another YouTuber who was better established than me. Actually, a couple of tips videos that still get views even today. Collaborating allowed me to gain authority and give viewers the information they wanted. So things were flying. Things were great. And I needed that to happen. You see, the year previously, I had quit my well-paid job as an associate professor at a university. I had tenure. I'd had a rewarding career. I was traveling the world. I could have stayed there forever, but I didn't. Because I loved making videos, and I wanted a lifestyle where I could do that, but also see my kids and my wife more. I wanted a better balance while doing the thing I loved. So I quit my forever job and took that risk. My wife and I built a dream together. You see, I met her when I was in a dark place, and she was my light. And we wanted to build a life together where we could be together more. And things were going well. And then came that blip. And I felt it my duty to help, because you see, I had been a psychologist since 1988 and had worked in disaster response and recovery for the previous 14 years before the blip. I was the go-to national expert on how to help people in disastrous times with their psychological well-being. Like it or not, when duty called, I threw myself into that for 3 years, advising the government, private companies, doing radio, TV, newspapers, magazines here in New Zealand, but also around the world for the BBC, Al Jazeera, Good Morning Chicago, you name it, I was everywhere. But through all that, publishing videos on YouTube just seemed impossible. Instead, I was focused not only on helping, but on just paying the bills too. Everything that we needed for life that people were suddenly worried about. Food, water, shelter, safety, staying well, and keeping our kids well too. Now, you know, as a psychologist, I knew all this. It's all about Maslow's hierarchy of needs. But what came next, I started to feel like I didn't have. Now, I had love in abundance, but what I didn't have was a sense of belonging. Let me backstep a little. I used to run, sometimes alone, but maybe a couple of times a week with my running club. I hadn't really run before I hit 40, but now looking back, I recognize that running was my happy place. A sense of doing something that was challenging, but ultimately I mastered, running 10 marathons and ultramarathons. But more importantly, I felt part of a bigger tribe. That community of mid-pack runners who are never going to win the race, but who enjoy the camaraderie of the journey, each creating their own little story together. Running gave me company, but right then, I felt alone. Not in the sense of my daily life, but of being part of something bigger. Yes, I was helping the nation through a tough time, but I was doing that in a small room, tapping on my keyboard on my Mac, alone. I wasn't really part of a team. I didn't see people other than my family, and maybe a handful of friends where we could make time and it was safe to be together. But I missed connection. I missed belonging, feeling valued for more than just the content that was in my head. And 3 years later, I was definitely over it. To be honest, I was burned out. I'm snappy with my kids. My weight ballooned out and I'm still carrying way more than I want to, and my sleep was utterly destroyed. Maybe you've been through something similar. But when I look back at the end of last year, I decided I wanted to take some action, to do a few things. First, I wanted to quit psychology, and I did. In March this year, I did it. I cut the cord again, letting go of a profession that has been actually really rewarding over 35 years, but it was time. The responsibility had become a burden I was no longer willing to carry. I needed something else. I also started running again, and it was going so well until I injured myself in the same calf muscle twice in a short period of time. So I'm resetting that and I'm starting again. And I'm actually going to go back to the gear I used to use. And you know what? That's kind of the story here. What can I do that I used to do, but with a twist to suit what's going on in my life today, and that resonates with what the world needs today? So the big thing for me was deciding to get back into YouTube again, because not only did I miss making videos, but I missed that sense of community I felt when my channel was flying. I wanted that back again. And when I was back in London in September this year, I met up with the creator I collaborated with before. It was so good to connect with Rich and talk YouTube again. It was so refreshing, but also connected me to that sense of community I miss so much. So big shout out to Rich and thanks for the time and the connection. And yeah, as I've tried to breathe life into my YouTube channel again, I've had a few false starts this year. As I've tried to find my groove again, I've experimented with making more Apple focused content before coming back to what I loved, but also what I was scared to make videos about before. Yes, I love making videos about light and easy mobile video devices like cameras and phones, but I also wanted to focus on travel too. I used to think, who am I to go up against these big creators who get sponsored deals to fly to beautiful places and create amazing content? But you know what? I've become convinced that this is a space I want to play in my own way. And the feedback that I'm getting so far from you, my audience, is telling me that I might be on the right track. You love the fact that I'm curating great travel gear and gadgets so that you don't have to, and you seem to be liking my vlogs and travelogues too. And you know what? I enjoy making and sharing them with you so much. And I value each and every comment you make on my channel. Like, that is so important to me. I also had a really nice surprise last week when the TechPacker was featured in a national magazine article on choosing the best action cameras. My name was name dropped as a national expert on Insta360 cameras. Now, when I started off on this journey at the beginning of this year, to think that I would end here like that at the back end of 2023, some 5 years after I started my journey trying to breathe life into my channel again, I wouldn't have believed it. And I just feel so privileged and lucky for that to happen in this way. And you know, like trying to turn a massive cargo ship that's been sailing in the wrong direction for a long time, it takes time to make changes that have an effect. Consistency is going to be key for me. And that's why you'll find me publishing videos at least twice a week on Mondays and Fridays New Zealand time. But I think it's starting to make a difference. Views are up, and so are people who are coming back to my channel. You know, I don't want to get old doing the same old thing day after day. What I love about YouTube as a platform is the sense of connection and belonging that it brings me. The sense of fulfillment of making videos that help people to have more fun, to make great memories in cool places with gear that makes it easy and simple for them to capture those memories to share with others. So thank you for being here with me, because more than anything, the most important part of my journey here on YouTube is sharing it with you. And I'll be working on getting back into running this year too, starting this afternoon. Check out this video for inspiration for somewhere to travel to in 2024. It was all filmed on iPhones, either handheld or using the Insta360 Flow smartphone gimbal. I'll see you over there.